Embracing aging with strength and wisdom. There comes a time in life when we start noticing small changes. Our steps may not be as quick, our strength not as steady, and the things that once felt effortless now take just a little more time. And, yet, we all know someone who seems to defy the passage of time. You've probably met them. A neighbor who still gardens every morning. An elderly friend who walks with a quiet sense of strength. Or maybe a family member who remains sharp, engaged, and full of life, no matter their age. It makes you wonder, what's their secret? Why do some people thrive in their later years, while others seem to shrink under the weight of aging? In Buddhism, there is a teaching about impermanence, the idea that nothing stays the same forever. Our bodies change, our energy shifts, and time moves forward whether we like it or not. But while we cannot stop aging, we can decide how we experience it. Some people resist change, holding on to the past with frustration and regret. Others embrace it with grace, understanding that each stage of life carries its own beauty. The question is, which path will we choose? I want to share something with you. Not just facts about aging, but a deeper understanding of what's happening to our bodies and minds as the years pass. I want to talk about the silent dangers we often overlook. The slow loss of muscle that quietly steals our independence. The way loneliness affects not just our hearts, but also our physical health. The hidden cost of inactivity. Why resting too much can make us weaker, not stronger. The small mindful habits that can help us feel energized, steady, and at peace. And finally, the power of walking meditation. A practice that brings together movement, mindfulness, and healing. This isn't just about living longer. It's about living well. It's about waking up each morning with energy, with a sense of purpose, and with gratitude for the simple joys of life. I know that change can feel overwhelming, but here's the truth. It's never too late. Even the smallest steps can lead to transformation. And you don't have to do it alone. We are on this journey together. If any of this resonates with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. Take a moment to share in the comments. Let me know you're here, and if you want to continue exploring ways to live fully, no matter your age, consider supporting this channel by subscribing. Your presence, your voice, and your journey all matter. So let's begin. Let's step into this next chapter, not with fear, but with curiosity, with wisdom, and with the understanding that aging is not about decline. It's about renewal. The silent thief. Understanding muscle loss, sarcopenia, and the art of letting go. I remember watching my grandfather in his later years. He had always been a strong man, the kind who could lift a heavy sack of rice with one arm or spend hours working in the garden without breaking a sweat. But as the years passed, something changed. His steps grew slower. His hands, once so firm and steady, trembled slightly when he reached for a glass of water. And then one day, as he struggled to push himself up from a chair, he let out a quiet sigh and said, "I just don't have the strength I used to." There was something about the way he said it, not just as a passing comment, but as a realization, as if he had finally come to terms with a truth he had been avoiding. It was a moment of acceptance, but also of sadness. And I wondered, does it have to be this way? Aging is inevitable, but weakness doesn't have to be. What my grandfather didn't know, and what many people don't realize, is that losing strength as we age is not just something we have to accept. It's something we can slow down, and in many cases, even reverse. The nature of change. A Buddhist perspective on the body. It's hard to watch ourselves change. We resist it, as if holding on tightly enough will somehow keep things the same. But in Buddhism, there's a teaching about impermanence. The idea that nothing stays the same forever. Our bodies, like everything else in life, are in a constant state of transformation. The muscles that once carried us effortlessly begin to shrink. The energy we once had may not come as easily. This is the nature of things. At first, that might sound like bad news. But when we really understand impermanence, we realize it's not something to fear. It's something to embrace. Because if things are always changing, that means they are never truly stuck. Just as strength can be lost, it can also be rebuilt. Just as the body can grow weaker, it can also grow stronger. The problem is, many people don't realize this until it feels too late. They notice themselves slowing down, so they stop moving as much. They avoid long walks because they're afraid of falling. They rest more, thinking that their body needs it. But the truth is, resting too much can do more harm than good. Why muscle loss matters. More than we think, losing muscle isn't just about feeling weaker. It's about losing independence. Think about the little things. Standing up from a chair, carrying groceries, walking to the mailbox. These are things we don't think about when we have strength, but the moment they become difficult, life starts to feel smaller. When the body weakens, so does confidence. And when confidence fades, people start withdrawing from the things they love. I've seen it happen too many times. A single fall shakes someone's confidence, and suddenly, they stop moving as much. They avoid stairs. They stop going outside as often. They sit longer and walk less, but the less they move, the weaker they become. It's a cycle that feeds itself. And the worst part? It's preventable. The muscles in our body aren't just for movement. They help keep our immune system strong. They support our brain function, and they even play a role in regulating our emotions. Studies show that people who maintain muscle strength as they age are less likely to experience depression, memory loss, and illness. In other words, strength isn't just about the body. It's about the mind and spirit too. A different way forward. I wish my grandfather had known that it was never too late to rebuild strength. I wish he had known that even a small change, standing up from a chair a few more times a day, taking an extra walk around the garden, could have made a difference. Movement doesn't have to be intense to be powerful. A slow, mindful walk can awaken muscles that have been asleep for too long. Stretching in the morning can remind the body that it is still capable. Even lifting a small weight, something as simple as a bottle of water, can start the process of rebuilding. Eating well matters just as much. The body needs fuel, and one of the biggest mistakes older adults make is not getting enough protein. It doesn't have to be complicated. A handful of nuts, a piece of tofu, an extra serving of beans. All of these small choices add up. But the most important part, letting go of the belief that it's too late. That's something I've come to learn from Buddhist teachings. The power of letting go. Letting go of regret. Letting go of frustration over what we can't do anymore. Letting go of the idea that aging is a slow decline. The moment we release those thoughts, we create space for something new. Maybe we won't be as strong as we were in our 20s, but that doesn't mean we can't still be strong. Maybe we won't run up the stairs, but that doesn't mean we can't still climb them. There is a difference between accepting change and surrendering to it. A new chapter. Not an end. Aging is not about giving up. It's about adapting. It's about learning how to care for the body we have now, not the one we had 20 years ago. If you've been feeling weaker lately, I hope you know that it's not too late. Even small changes can have a big impact. Strength doesn't disappear overnight, and it won't return overnight either. But with time, with patience, and with a little bit of faith, the body has an incredible ability to renew itself. So today, if you do one thing, just one thing, make a promise to yourself. Stand up a little more often. Stretch your arms toward the sky. Take a slow, mindful walk. Not because you have to, but because you can. Because your body is still capable. Because you are still capable. And if this message resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you noticed changes in your body over the years? What small steps have helped you feel stronger? Share your experiences in the comments. I'd love to learn from you, just as much as you might learn from me. And if you want to continue this journey of mindful, healthy aging together, consider subscribing. We are all walking this path, and it's always easier when we don't walk it alone. Malnutrition and loneliness. The power of connection and compassion. There's a quiet kind of hunger that doesn't come from an empty stomach. It's the hunger for warmth, for companionship, for the simple joy of sharing a meal with someone who cares. I once knew a woman named Margaret. She was 82, lived alone, and had always been independent. Her days followed a quiet rhythm. Reading in the morning, watching the birds outside her window, and occasionally chatting with her daughter on the phone. But something had changed over the years. She had lost interest in cooking. At first, she told herself it was just easier this way. Less mess, less effort. A piece of toast for breakfast. Maybe a can of soup for dinner. It was enough, she thought. But it wasn't. Her clothes began to hang loosely on her frame. Her energy faded. She started feeling lightheaded when she stood up too quickly. And then one day, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Malnutrition is often thought of as something that happens to people in poverty, or those who lack access to food. But for many older adults, it's not about the lack of food. It's about the lack of desire to eat. The hidden impact of eating alone food has always been about more than just nutrition. It's a ritual, a moment of connection. Think about the happiest meals of your life. Were you alone? Or were you surrounded by laughter, conversation, and the comforting sounds of shared company? When we eat alone, something fundamental changes. The joy of cooking fades. The effort of preparing a balanced meal starts to feel unnecessary. And over time, meal after meal, the body begins to feel the absence, not just of nutrients, but of companionship. Buddhist teachings remind us that everything in life is interconnected. Just as a tree cannot thrive without sunlight and water, humans cannot thrive without connection. Loneliness is not just an emotional burden. It affects the body too. Studies show that seniors who eat alone are more likely to suffer from poor nutrition, weakened immune systems, and even a higher risk of cognitive decline. Margaret didn't realize it at first, but her body was telling her what her heart already knew. She needed more than just food. She needed connection, the healing power of shared meals. One day, Margaret's neighbor, a kind woman named Linda, invited her over for dinner. At first, she hesitated. It had been a long time since she had shared a meal with someone. But something inside her, perhaps the part of her that still longed for connection, told her to go. That evening, as they sat together, something shifted. The food tasted better. The conversation felt warm. She found herself smiling more than she had in weeks. And for the first time in a long time, she ate without forcing herself. This is the power of human connection. In Buddhism, there is a concept called dependent origination. The idea that all things arise through relationships. Just as a seed needs soil, water, and sunlight to grow. People need each other to truly thrive. Compassion doesn't always have to come in grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as an invitation to dinner, a shared pot of soup, a warm cup of tea with a friend. These small acts of kindness have the power to nourish, not just the body, but the soul, breaking the cycle of isolation. Margaret's story is not unique. There are millions of people like her, quietly eating alone, slowly fading in ways that go unnoticed. But there is hope. There are ways to bring warmth back to the dinner table. If you find yourself losing interest in food, ask yourself, when was the last time you truly enjoyed a meal? If it has been a while, maybe it's time to change something. Call a friend. Invite a neighbor over. Consider joining a community meal program or a local senior group. Even a simple lunch outing once a week can make a difference. And if you know someone who eats alone often, reach out to them. A small gesture, a homemade dish, an invitation, even a short conversation, can remind them that they are not alone. Buddhism teaches us about compassion, karuna, the deep understanding that our well-being is connected to the well-being of others. When we extend kindness to someone, we are not just helping them. We are healing a part of ourselves too. A nourished heart. A nourished life. Margaret's life didn't change overnight. But little by little, meal by meal, she found her way back. She started making an effort to share meals with others, to enjoy food again, to let warmth back into her life. And as she did, her body responded. She regained her strength. Her energy returned. And most importantly, she felt alive again. Eating well is not just about the food on our plates. It's about the love, connection, and presence that surround it. When we eat with others, we nourish more than just our bodies. We nourish our hearts. If this message speaks to you, take a moment to reflect. Who in your life might need a little more connection? Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's you. And if you've ever experienced the quiet loneliness of eating alone, I invite you to share your story. What has helped you? What small moments of kindness have brought warmth to your life? Your words might be the encouragement someone else needs today.